Welcome my friends, welcome back to Project TAS. If you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. If you've watched any of my previous videos, thank you for returning to my channel. Today we're doing another Blake 7 episode review from Season 1. As always, I will point out that this review will inevitably touch upon certain plot elements of this episode and may even reveal developments for the series of Blake 7 as a whole. So if you haven't seen this episode or anything else in terms of Blake 7, a huge spoiler alert is in order in case you wish to do a bit of Blake 7 catch up prior to watching this review. You have been warned. Right, let's get to it, shall we? From reading other reviews on Tinternet, it very much appears that people consider this one a fairly average episode. So I am clearly in the minority when I tell you I consider this to be one of the best episodes of Season 1. I would hope that the Blake 7 masses would share my opinion and admiration for Seek, Locate, Destroy, but it is evidently not the case. Maybe it's because of the £5.50 the effects department evidently spent on the killer robot, or the 20th century locale being used as a Federation base. It could be the unlikely circumstances of Blake and his crew, already well underway before they realise that they've left Callie behind, or the minimal effort it takes to get her back again. Either these things didn't bother me, or I was too dim to notice. But given the characters we're introduced to in this episode, who we will forever love and hate in equal measure for the rest of the series, how can Seek, Locate, Destroy be passed over so easily? For the very reasons I've just gone over, maybe? Yeah, maybe. And I wouldn't dare tell anyone their opinion is wrong if they're not particularly fond of this episode. But is this episode my guilty pleasure? No, I don't think so. I think that would discredit this episode. In my humble opinion, safety net, this is a very good episode. This is an excellent episode. And now I've waffled on as to how I'm in the minority and I'm still a fan of this episode, let me now try to explain why. Could it be after the dross we've had in the last couple of episodes, anything with a hint of substance in it is going to stand out as a triumph of science fiction and storytelling and character development? Yeah, I must admit it's a distinct possibility. Time Squad and The Web aren't the worst episodes of the franchise, but given how the series had set itself up, it did seem to labour through the motions for quite a while there. Seek, Locate, Destroy pits Blake back up against the Federation right where the series works best. Most of the time anyway. And in terms of the Federation, we finally get a couple of faces we can most definitely associate it with. Rontaine and Burkle are similarly slimy to the creatures we met in Blake 7's premiere The Way Back, enjoying the pomp and circumstance of representing the President and the fact that they get to talk down to the various commanders, discussing the capture and destruction of Blake as if they're working out where to get financing for the next Federation fate. It's good to see that same type of stuck-up character. Not because we like these guys, but it's a reminder of the kind of people that Blake is up against, and given what these people did to Blake in The Way Back, we relish that we can finally see him take the fight against these sods. And of course we see these sods again in the not too distant future. But of course, these aren't the couple of faces I'm talking about. No one really cares about these guys. Not while the episode introduces us to the baddies of Blake 7. None other than Supreme Commander Servalan and Space Commander Travis themselves. It's interesting to see Servalan in this light, having seen future episodes with her before I saw this one. She's being very much talked down to by Rontaine and Burkle, who, as I said already, obviously relish being the personal reps of the President, so far up their own backsides. I was eagerly awaiting a waspish put down by Servalan to put these idiots in their place. She's not as cruel as I might have expected, but if anything, her calm patronises these guys more. She waits for them to go through all their rubbish, how Blake absolutely must be stopped, how their beloved President personally feels so concerned about this issue. And the first thing she says is, "Gentlemen," as calm as anything, for all the stuff she could say and yet doesn't have to. She holds her own, which, let's face it, she frequently does, but there's an extra level of composure here that wouldn't really be repeated again. Okay, so she always seems arrogantly confident, but there's not so much ham in Jacqueline Pearce's performance in this episode as we will become accustomed to. The signs are there, but it's a little more restrained, and with a new level of control and confidence. And once she's told Tweedledum and Tweedledummer who she's bringing in to sort Blake out, she knows she's inviting criticism, and she stands by it, unmoving. She wins against these stuck-up losers. One battle she doesn't necessarily win for the same reason is the one she has with Ray, and that's almost certainly because she didn't want to have a battle with him. It's obvious they are more than just superior and subordinate, and almost certainly more than just friends, as Servalan flirtatiously puts it. But Ray can't look past who Servalan's brought into the frame, and Servalan can't back down. It costs her this friend, and this clearly hurts her. This is perhaps one of the few instances where we see the more human side of Servalan, if only for a few seconds. But she still put duty and decision, controversial decision to say the least, above this man. And given how few genuine friends Servalan seems to have, this says a lot. Her devotion to duty comes before any piffling notion of friendship. This would be explored in later episodes. But of course, while this obviously all serves to introduce us to Servalan and the kind of character she is, the conversations we're seeing give rise to the character they're all talking about, the character who she's bringing in to sort out the Blake crisis. Before we even see him, he's causing her problems from the upper echelons, and it's perhaps cost her a close friendship. Our intrigue is peaked. It's only around the third or halfway mark of the episode do we properly meet the person who is the subject of this controversial decision. Space Commander Travis. Awesome character. Brilliantly brought to life by Stephen Grief, one of my favourite supporting roles in the whole of Blake 7. A similar acting style to Gareth Thomas's Blake, but perhaps a touch more camp in there, the occasional slight upward inflection in the words, which adds a nice malevolent touch to the character. He immediately projects his presence upon entering the scene, and that's not just from the camera angle and the sinister music. The refusal to reveal Travis's face immediately adds to the payoff of seeing the grotesque black mass over the top left of his head. This was replaced with just an eye patch for some reason when Brian Croucher took over the role, but we'll discuss Travis Mark II later on. It has been suggested that the disfigured bad guy out for revenge against the protagonist is something of a cliche, and I see where they're coming from. Such bad guys have become a signature of every Bond movie since Dr. No's Metal Hands, but I would suggest that the bad guy who's just doing his job can sometimes end up being just another bad guy, and for the main baddie in a television series, one who's going to directly take on Blake and his crew, it helps if the battle is a little more personal. And this is where the backstories help. Not only does it allow Blake and Travis to carry on where they left off, in terms of their absolute hatred of each other, but it ties back in with where we started our own journey with Blake. And that black mass over Travis's eye is both a tie-in to both his past and Blake's past, and the incident that they were both previously part of. We have a recap of Blake's previous go at Resistance Leader, this time from Blake's own point of view, the block on his memory evidently losing its strength since Blake encountered the Liberator's security blob in Spacefall. Travis and Blake's respective backstories meld together in a neat bit of editing. The story of their previous encounter is started by Travis and continued and concluded by Blake. Now I have complained about poorly done exposition. Only from the previous episode, The Web, I was saying as to how we were having stuff said to us without anything happening. But the exposition works here, maybe because we're a lot more invested in the backstory of our hero and his arch nemesis rather than a couple of dull, genetically created siblings. It's also really well acted by Gareth Thomas. Yes, I put the "I thought he was dead, I was sure I killed him" line as being the heading for this episode, but the wry smile and the way he delivers this line after Avon's question.
Do you remember enough to recognize Travis again?
The man who killed 20 of my friends? Oh yes, I'll recognize him.
Personally, I love the delivery of this line, and it caps off the backstory exposition very nicely. Blake's summary of what Travis did to him and his group, and the smile he expresses when delivering it, it's the idea that he may now be relishing a chance to go up against this monster again, and he can't help but smile.
A rough analogy would be the static build-up during an electrical storm.
Yes, well, I'm always grateful for a rough analogy. What does it do?
Another issue people have expressed with this episode is that Blake doesn't kill Travis at the end of the episode. Travis is apparently responsible for ordering mass murder. He will doubtless cause more, we witness as much ourselves in later episodes, and Blake could stop this by taking Travis out right now, and he doesn't. Well, Blake 7 was never that kind of show. It was meant for children. Older children, teenagers, yes. But still, it's a negative image for our hero to murder someone in cold blood, even if it is someone like Travis. The message here is that Blake will not stoop down to the same level as Travis, and even Travis does not deserve to go the way that his victims went. Many would disagree with this assessment. An eye for an eye sometimes seems the fairest way. But if nothing else, I see that Blake is being portrayed as morally better than even this. He has no qualms taking Travis's gun, even though it was Callie who was being tortured, but you can tell this means so much to Blake. It is he who needs that piece of his enemy as a small trophy in his fight against the Federation. So there you are. A moderately contrived plot may be, but this episode serves a deeper purpose and gives you a proper flavour of what Blake 7 is all about. It provides a face, or rather two faces, to the other side of the coin, and gives Blake 7 that extra dimension and depth, and we notice that depth immediately in Seek, Locate, Destroy. The points I mentioned earlier, which irks people with this episode, are valid points, and therefore means this could never qualify for a top mark. Yes, these are deficiencies with the plot, but they're not as terrible as I believe they're made out to be. For me, it gets a hand on the 3-star level. It's an important episode, It adds something to the Blake 7 universe that never leaves again, and while we may do nothing but laugh at the Daleks' uglier looking cousin, we now have 2 more characters to love and hate in equal measure. That concludes my review on Seek, Locate, Destroy. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video, please share this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I will be helping Travis out with his rough analogy. Until next time.